Hey guys, Mr. Ridley here. Hope you guys are all staying safe and I miss you guys so much. So before we get started, I actually want to introduce you guys to somebody. This is Remy. Remy is in charge of recording all the videos and making sure that we get these lessons ready for you guys. Say hey, Remy. Okay, so it looks like he's not too talkative today, but there's a good chance you're either going to see him or hear him in the video. So when you do, just make sure you say, hey, yo, what's up, Remy? So last week we started to talk about instrumentation. And remember, instrumentation is the way that the four groups of instruments are split up between a band and an orchestra. Those four groups of instruments are brass, strings, woodwinds that we started to talk about last week, and percussion. Remember, woodwinds are called woodwind instruments because most of the instruments are made out of wood or used to be made out of wood, and they're called wind instruments because we use our air, our breath, to make the sound come out of the instruments. That's why we call them woodwind instruments. Now, this week, we're going to start to talk about percussion instruments. Percussion instruments are called percussion instruments because we either hit them or we strike them, which is really just another way of saying hit them. Now, before I show you any of these instruments, I want to make sure that you guys understand something. I can play these instruments, but there are people who can play them a lot better than me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the instruments, but I'm also going to send you guys links so that you can see professionals really play the instruments, so that way you get a good idea of not only how the instrument looks, but also how the instrument sounds, okay? Now, the first drum that I'm going to show you is one of my favorite drums. I was really lucky to get this. That drum is called a djembe drum. Now, djembe drums come from Africa, and I was really lucky because I had a friend who was able to visit Africa. He bought this drum and brought it back here so that I can be able to show you guys, okay? Now, djembe drums have a body that is made out of wood, just like this. And a lot of times, they have really cool designs. See how the design? It's really cool, right? Looks like fire down there. It's really cool. At the top of the drum is what we call the head of the drum. Now, a lot of drums, the head of the drum is actually made out of animal skin. Now, when I say that, people are like, ooh, that's made out of animal skin? I'm hitting a dead animal? The reason why that is a long time ago, when people would hunt for animals, not only would they use the meat to eat, they would use the fur to make clothes, and they would use the skin of the animal to make percussion instruments, or to use it for different things, even to make like teepees and homes. So they didn't waste any part of the animal, okay? So that means percussion instruments are actually some of the first instruments ever created. This djembe drum is a real one, so it is really made out of animal skin, all right? Now how I hit it, or how I play it, is just like this. So when I play it, how the sound comes out of the instrument is by a little hole at the bottom of the drum. So when I hit it, that's what it sounds like. The sound is projecting out from the bottom, okay? The next drum that I want to show you is a drum that you guys are probably more familiar with. If you've ever seen a marching band, you have definitely seen this drum. This drum is called a snare drum. Now, this drum is a little bit older. My brother used to play the snare drum when he was in middle school, and he let me borrow it so, again, that I could show you guys, okay? But if you look at this drum, you can see that it's very different than the djembe drum. One of the reasons why it's different is that the body is not made out of wood. Instead, it's made out of metal. Also, the head of the drum, I know you can't really see because it's just a video, but the head of the drum is actually made out of plastic. It's not made out of animal skin. There's a difference in how it feels, okay? What makes this a snare drum is actually on the bottom. These little beads, I know that you can hear that. These little beads are what we call the snares. And there's a little lever on the side right here, where you can see a little lever that either tightens the beads or loosens the beads, so that way it can make two different sounds, okay? Now, you don't play a snare drum the same way that you play a djembe, so you don't use your hand. I mean, you could, but you're not really supposed to. We use something called drumsticks. And that is exactly how a drumstick looks. Just like that, okay? So when I play a snare drum, it sounds just like this. Told you would hear them. So that is how a snare drum sounds. And that's actually a really good example because snare drums can be very, very loud, right? So a lot of percussionists, when they're practicing at home, they don't use their regular drum. They use something called a practice pad. Practice pads, something very, very small like this. But it's supposed to represent what a snare drum is like. So this is supposed to be like the head of the snare drum. Okay, so I can put it in my lap just like this, and I can play the same thing, and it's gonna sound a little different. It's a little different. It doesn't sound nearly as loud, right? Another drum that I really want to show you guys is a practice pad for the tenor drums. Now you look at this and it's like all long. It's like, what in the world? What is that? Now a tenor drum is actually 6 different drums that are attached together. Sometimes it could be 6, sometimes it could be 5. It really just depends. It could be different drums that are attached together. Now you see all the little brown spots, the brown octagons. All those brown octagons are where I'm actually supposed to hit. So those are all different drum heads that I'm supposed to hit, different spots that I can actually hit on the tenor drum, okay? Now I'm gonna make sure that I actually show you guys a video of what the tenor drum actually looks like. But this is a practice pad for the tenor drum. Now the last drum that I wanna show you is what we call a bass drum. But I don't have enough room to show you the whole bass drum, so I'm going to show you what is really just the bass drum head. It looks just like this. So with the bass drum, we don't want to use a drumstick. We want to use something called a mallet. Now drumsticks and mallets are kind of the same thing because they're sticks, but they have different ends to them. You see the difference? The reason why you want to play with a mallet is because it produces a bigger sound. It produces a different kind of sound, all right? I'm actually going to play, even though you're not supposed to, I'm going to show you what it sounds like. I'm going to play the bass drum head with a regular drumstick. I want you to see how it sounds. Not bad, right? Now listen to how it sounds if I use a mallet. They sound completely different. So if you want a different sound, you use a different drumstick or a different mallet, just like that. All right, guys? So what we just looked at were a couple of percussion instruments. Next week, I'm going to show you some more percussion instruments, but the difference between that and these is going to be pretty cool. All right, guys? See you later. Make sure that you guys are being safe.